And we'd like to welcome to the March Madness preview show presented by The Baseline, UConn assistant coach Tom Moore. Coach, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. First of all, congratulations on the Big East tournament, and we're happy to have you on The Baseline.
Appreciate it, Jack. I'm happy to be here.
So Coach, I wanted to start off by asking you with having won the national championship last year, that brings your team into the season with a target on your back per se. How do you guys as a coaching staff and as a team go about playing the season as the reigning national champions with that target on your back and playing some really quality out-of-conference opponents at that?
Well, I will say, Jack, I was fortunate enough to be here my first go-around as an assistant here. I was here from 1994 to 2007 with Coach Calhoun, and we won 2 national championships then, one in 99 and one in 04. So it was neat as I kept trying to recall how Coach Calhoun handled the 2000 season and the 2005 season. And I think Dan handled it very similar to how Coach did. I mean, Dan tried to really embrace it. He didn't really try to run from it or sort of shy from it or hide at all. He didn't really frame it as much as like we're defending something. He tried to empower our guys with what they accomplished, without making them overconfident. He has a saying where when these guys do play really well or make really big shots or really big plays at key points of big games and hostile environments, he mentions championship DNA a lot, and I think he tries to speak that into existence. He tries to, again, I think the word is empower our players, especially the older players who had something to do with last year. So you hear that a lot. When Tristan Newton makes a big play, or Alex Caravan makes a big play, or Donovan Clingan makes a big play, he'll reference that a lot. He'll say, you guys have been in the biggest spots in college basketball. You're champions. You've done it at the highest level in the most pressure-packed situations. So that's why you do it again in these big spots. And we were as ambitious as we could possibly be with our non-conference schedule. As you mentioned, we played at Kansas in the Big 12 Challenge when they were whole. They were a top 3 team. We played at Gonzaga, who didn't have quite as good a year as they historically do. But then we played North Carolina in the Jimmy V Classic at Madison Square Garden, and then we played Texas and Indiana in our MTE event at Madison Square Garden. So I think it was constantly trying to keep the guys' focus and attention with big games always on the horizon. And it worked well. I mean, these guys were super consistent. We only lost 3 times in the whole season, which is almost unheard of nowadays. And so I think Dan handled it terrifically.
And when you talk about that out-of-conference schedule, and given how much of a gauntlet the Big East, your in-conference play is, how much did that out-of-conference schedule prepare you for conference play?
It was terrific because I think the atmosphere on the road and in the neutral games was really beneficial. We lost twice in the Big East on the road, so we went 8-2 on the road and 10-0 at home. And I think that to go 8-2 on the road in this league is a huge accomplishment. And when you play at Kansas and when you play at Gonzaga, when you play Carolina at MSG and teams like Texas and Indiana at MSG, it definitely hardens you for the challenges that come in the Big East. And Coach Hurley has a great saying about the Big East. He says, iron sharpens iron. He likes to say that a lot. And I think our non-conference iron certainly helps sharpen us for the Big East iron.
And I want to talk to you about a couple of guys on your team. Donovan Clingan moved into the starting lineup this year after seeing a lot of minutes off the bench his freshman season. What did you guys as a staff and you personally see from him? What kind of growth did you see from him year 1 to year 2?
It's been awesome to have him take that next step from, like you mentioned, a 13, 14-minute a game player behind Adama Sanogo, who was an All-American last year, and then become his own sort of person and his own player with the increased minutes this year. I think he's playing around 24, 25, 26 or so. He's had a little bit of a challenging season this year with two different injuries. One very early in the season, and then one on December 20th in the Seton Hall game, which held him out a little bit. The first one held him out probably a little over a month, and the second one held him out for about 3 weeks. And, the challenges that come from being 7'2" and 270, 280 pounds is when you're laid up for a little while, it becomes a cardiovascular issue. It becomes a rhythm and a timing issue too as well for the big guys. He had to really be careful about his diet, and he had to be careful about getting extra work. Both of them were foot issues, so it's not like he could be running when he was rehabbing or trying to come back from these two injuries. So he did a good job with his diet. He did a good job trying to get cardio when he was out too as well in different ways. And right now he's probably physically at the best he's been all year. He looks fresh and he's moving well. He just had some kind of like a 20-15 game in the Big East Tournament Championship. He's an incredible defensive presence for us. I think our metrics are, the analytics say we're the best defensive team in the country when he's on the court. Offensively, he's really become, he's an excellent pick and roll player. He's such a huge target for lobs when we play off pick and roll. His post game is evolving and continues to get better as he continues to feel a little bit more comfortable in there with a lot of bodies. He frequently has to deal with a double team, sometimes a triple team. So he's handling that better. But the defensive thing is really where you see it. And sometimes you don't see it on television too as much as you see it on the bench, because teams just are spooked by his presence inside. Both the guys he's guarding and the guards, when they get by our guards and get close to the rim, are always looking over his shoulder to see where that big 7'2" dude is. So his evolution's been really fun to watch in such a short time.
And last season, you guys had really big contributions throughout the year from guys like Jordan Hawkins and Joey Calcaterra. And you had a couple of big guards come into the program through the transfer portal. And to segue back to sort of coming into this season, what were you guys as a coaching staff and as a program looking to do to try to fill those holes of the Hawkinses, the Calcaterras, and how have those guys like Newton and Spencer filled those roles and helped you continue to stay the course?
Well, I mean, the two backcourt guys that have been the most impactful that are new to this year's team are Cam Spencer and the freshman Stephon Castle. Cam has been terrific. I mean, he is exactly 100% what we needed when we went into the portal last year. We were looking for somebody who could shoot, who was older, who was proven, who was competitive. But we got all that and more in Cam, and we also got passing. We got an off-the-charts competitor in Cam Spencer, too, who's brought incredible passion and fire to the locker room, and the team, and the huddles during games, who's fit in very well, in our culture and in the locker room. His production, he was part of this 50-40-90 club, which very few guards are able to reach, but shot over 50% from the floor, over 40 from three, and over 90 from the line. And his assist-to-turnover ratio hovered usually around 3-1. For a kid who, he handles the ball a lot as a combo guard. So he's been incredible. I mean, he's really helped fill the gap of Jordan Hawkins leaving for the NBA. And then Stephon Castle has really filled the gap in terms of Andre Jackson's departure, too, as well for the NBA. Steph has been all that's been advertised and more as a McDonald's All-American and a guy who's on the mock drafts. He's an incredible defensive player who it just does not get beat off the dribble. Is really tough on the ball. Can really push the ball, finds people, and he's like 6'6" and strong, and he's a point guard. So the NBA teams are really interested and excited about him and his potential. So I think those two have come in and just been a godsend in terms of replacing three incredible pieces, as you mentioned: Jordan Hawkins, Andre Jackson, and Joey Calcaterra.
And Coach, looking at your conference schedule this season and going into the Big East tournament, you mentioned the loss that you had on the road at Creighton. Creighton, obviously a very talented team, on February 20th. And then from that point, your team did not lose a game for the rest of the season, including that run of the Big East tournament. So what was sort of the mindset coming out of that loss to Creighton, and then what did you make of the team being able to carry it all the way through to the Big East title?
Well, you know what was interesting, Jack, on the Creighton game is, surprisingly, we played very lackluster defense, extremely lackluster defense. And now Creighton's the type of team that they can do that to you with their movement. Greg McDermott's an incredible offensive coach that runs great schemes, has great play sets, and they can embarrass you offensively if you're not ready to go defensively. They also shoot the ball very well. So there are some nights where you're not playing great defense and you allow some open shots. But if they don't make them, you don't pay a price, really. Well, on this night, we weren't very sharp defensively, both on the ball and more importantly off the ball, which is not really our MO. And they made us pay. Like, any open one we gave them, they hit probably 60, 70% of the threes that we left them open. So that was our fourth game in 10 days. It came 3 days after a really emotional home win against Marquette, where we jumped them and beat them by a good amount. And we really looked tired. We looked physically tired. We looked emotionally tired. And we really didn't look like ourselves on the defensive end of the court. Again, Dan's been incredible. I think he's the National Coach of the Year. I think he's the best coach in the country right now. And the way he handled that loss, I thought was perfect. He did not overreact. As we always do, we showed exactly what we did well and numerous things we didn't do well. And this is a mature group. This is a confident group. This is a group that has winning all over their DNA right now. So, the next couple practices were quality practices and mature practices, and our performances since that night have been really quality and really mature. So it was sometimes you need those. I'm not a huge believer in learning from losses, but sometimes you need those. It was a subtle reset. It caught everyone's attention, and I think we're stronger for it.
You went 3-0 against Marquette this year, Coach, including the win in the Big East title game. You all talked about Coach Hurley talking about iron sharpens iron. How much have they sharpened you going into this tournament? And then just on the flip side of that, talk about winning that Big East title game over your rival at Madison Square Garden this past weekend.
Well, just huge respect from UConn for Marquette as a program, and from Dan Hurley to Shaka Smart as a coach too as well. We just love the way they go about their business. We love the way he coaches and the way their players play. It does seem somewhat a little bit empty, the last two wins without Tyler Kolek, who is one of the best point guards in the country and is so critical, so essential to what they do offensively. So it's there's a little emptiness there. There was a sense in preparation for both games that we almost wish he was there, because you want to again test yourself against the best. And the victory, I think, when we beat them here with him healthy, the victory feels more complete when you're playing another team at their best. And we're hopeful Tyler's healthy and that they can make a long run in the NCAA tournament, because again, we have a huge amount of respect for them. To win the Big East tournament championship was important for our guys and our program, because it was a goal that Dan had set out for this team from day one. You talked earlier about how do you motivate a team that just came off a national championship. Well, Dan immediately said, listen, last year we won the national championship, but we didn't win the Big East regular season, and we didn't win the Big East tournament. Those trophies are in Marquette. So what that does, and by making that a thing and making that something that we really wanted to make sure we attained, um, by doing that, it kept that in the forefront of our guys' minds all year, as a stated goal. Both both of those. So we won the Big East regular season, so we felt like we accomplished a goal. Now we've won the Big East tournament. We've accomplished another goal that we set out to accomplish, and now, obviously, going back and trying to repeat is the third goal. Saturday night in Madison Square Garden, to just the privilege and the honor of being able to play in that game is something that you want for your program really badly. I was blessed. My first time when I was here, like I said, for 13 years, I think I was in, and we was able to participate in about 8 of those. We won 5 of them, and there's just nothing like it. I mean, I think it's the best conference tournament in the country because of its history, because of its rivalries, and because of the location. Madison Square Garden, as they say, is the world's greatest arena, and the atmosphere and the energy and the excitement in that place on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for that tournament is off the charts. So great weekend for our program, great weekend for our guys to experience, and just excited about the next couple of weeks.
Coach, no team has won consecutive national titles since Florida in 2006, 2007, and I asked you at the beginning of this, you came into the season with the proverbial target on your back as the defending national champions. How much hunger is there on this staff, on this roster, to do it again, especially with some of the guys coming in from the portal who are not on the 2023 team? And then how do you manage being that number 1 overall seed, that target on your back, trying to complete that quest for another one?
Well, I'd say huge amounts of hunger, Jack, like as much hunger as I think any team, program, and coach can have. But it's the thing that I love to sort of observe and watch is, again, how Coach Hurley balances the fine line between overconfidence and excitement and energy for what we're about to go do. He strikes an incredible balance, and that's like the deft touch that only the elite coaches have. That sense of walking that fine line between, we're excited, but we're also super confident and prepared for what we're about to go do. And we always seem to be just sitting in that exact comfort zone of balancing all of those things. So the energy's great. As a veteran coach who's been doing this now for 36 years, I'm trying to just enjoy every day of it because it doesn't happen. This level of achievement and accomplishment is not something that very many coaches get to experience. And again, I'm trying to enjoy every minute of it.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. Good luck the rest of the way.
Jack, my pleasure. Best of luck to you guys too as well with your show tonight. I hope everything goes well.